Hey, what's up? Lightboltjoe here. Today we are going to discuss the 1990 cult classic film Gremlins 2. This is the sequel to the 1984 film directed by Joe Dante, Gremlins. This is also directed by Joe Dante. Steven Spielberg is back producing this film. So I made a mistake. Universal did not produce Gremlins. Universal Studios is where they filmed Gremlins. So Warner Brothers is the rights proprietor, if you will, to Gremlins and Gremlins 2. So that's why it's funny in this movie they have like a Wicked Witch of the Witch reference, because Warner Brothers also owns Wizard of Oz. Warner Brothers also owns Looney Tunes, so that makes sense why Looney Tunes characters were in Gremlins 1. And Looney Tunes characters were featured in the very beginning of Gremlins 2. You had Bugs Bunny and Donald Duck literally arguing about who's going to present the film. So this takes place chronologically, I think probably the same time period that there's the difference between the two films. So Billy Peltzer, played by Zach Galligan, is back. Kate Berenger is played by Phoebe Gates once again. You have John Glover playing Daniel Clamp. You have a that's really it, and then you have the two neighbors from the first movie back in this one as well. So Billy and Kate now live in New York City. They work for Clamp Industries. The Clamp giant skyscraper is right by Grand Central Station near 55th Street on the east side of Manhattan, kind of midtownish. So Billy is now an artist. So he is designing a new Chinatown that Clamp wants to, create for New York City. So the old Chinese guy who possesses Gizmo, the Mogwai, he is refusing to sell to Clamp Industries, but eventually he does pass away 6 weeks after the story is introduced. Gizmo then escapes the building before it's demolished. A scientist finds him on the street, brings him to Clamp Building to do some experiments, because there's a laboratory on one of the floors in the Clamp Building. There's a TV station, there's networks, there's, different production companies, there's different, there's a laboratory, there's different doctor's offices. It's a massive building filled with a lot of different, things, different businesses. So all of a sudden, Gizmo accidentally gets wet when he is in the building after Billy finds him in the lab, tries to save him, but a janitor accidentally squirts him with water from a water fountain. He starts to bud again. There's a brand new stripe. There's new creatures, and then hell breaks loose, and then more creatures get wet, and more creatures pupate because they eat after midnight. So then all of these gremlin characters are now taking over a major automated skyscraper within the city of Manhattan. Hysterical. Chaos, horror, comedy. So within the laboratory, there's a lot of different extracts for animals. So one gremlin takes like an electro thing, becomes an electric gremlin. Another one takes a spider formula. Another one takes a bat formula. Another one becomes a vegetable. Like, it's just funny. Another one drinks this brain potion and forms the ability to speak. Howie Mandel is the voice of Gizmo, so it's very entertaining actually knowing that as well. So the story keeps going on. How long is this movie? Hour 40, hour 46. So as you can see, I have a lot of issues with my neck currently. So it's hard for me to turn without pain. So I'm just going to move my body in a stiff form. It's fine when I wake up, but as the day progresses, it is just a nightmare. Okay, that's why I'm stick figured right now, and previous, reviews prior. Okay, so anyway, there's a hysterical musical number after the brain gremlin is, being interviewed on TV by one of the newscasters who plays this Dracula character for one of the shows that Mr. Clamp produces. And so Billy and company are trying to figure out how to kill the gremlins before they go outside. So they devise a plan to trick them to thinking that it's night, but it's not night, because there's only one way in and out of the building in the lobby. But then that plan fails when the rain starts to happen, and obviously water with gremlins is not a good mix. So Billy has the electro gremlin trapped on hold in Mr. Clamp's office, has the neighbor who's trying to save them as well, hose down all the gremlins who are in the lobby right now of the giant, building, and then has the gremlin on hold transferred to the lobby, so that way he electrocutes everybody. They just disintegrate and melt, and brown and green piles of gross, and Mr. Clamp comes in with armed guards, to pretend to save the day, and then offers Billy, other jobs for future projects. So this technically doesn't take place on Christmas. We're still going to consider this a Christmas movie though, because A Wonderful Life, It's a Wonderful Life is being premiered, is being shown on a TV, and Gremlins 1 takes place during Christmas, so like you can't talk about Gremlins and then Gremlins 2 separately. It's like a weird thing. So Gremlins 2, Christmas movie. Gremlins 3 is being made. I don't know when. They have been trying to figure out a way to do it, for a very, very long time. I think if they have like the Billy character have a son or a daughter, I think that'd be interesting, having Gizmo interact with one of Billy's kids, and then all hell breaks loose, something to that extent. But where would it take place? If the first one took place in the hometown and the second one took place in Manhattan, where would the third take place? We'll see, because Billy now lives in Manhattan, so maybe he still lives in Manhattan. So we'll see what transpires with Gremlins 3. It was said that they want to stay with the puppetry. They don't want to do CGI, because that's what's nice about Gremlins and Gremlins 2 is that it's a lot of practical effects. Very few moments that there are CGI. You can kind of tell. You can tell like when things are CGI'd, especially because this came out in 1990, so this was made in '89. But it's not too bad. So Gremlins 3 with modern technology would be incredible, but it'd be more realistic with props, with practical effects, things like that, with actual puppetry. So I'm excited about that whenever that does happen. It will be a very fantastic horror comedy film, which should take place on Christmas, but we'll see. So, on to the next Christmas film. Mucho mahalo.